You stand in front of 160 hectares of sandstone that should not exist, 5 million blocks. Some weigh 1,500 kilograms, hauled from quarries 35 kilometers away through jungle and swamp in the year 1113. No machines, no wheels documented at the site. And yet, King Suryavarman II built the largest religious structure on Earth in under 40 years. But that is just the surface. The blocks sit with joints so tight a razor will not fit between them. The binding agent remains unknown after decades of study. Natural resin has been suggested. Slaked lime has been proposed, neither confirmed. The stones themselves tell contradictory stories. LIDAR scans in 2012 and 2015 reveal an entire hidden city beneath the forest canopy. Massive spiral structures made of sand with no artifacts inside them. 8 buried towers built and then demolished during construction for reasons that still escape every archaeologist who studies the site. A moat that should have collapsed under its own engineering, but instead held water for 9 centuries. And then there's the astronomy. On the equinox, the sun rises directly over the central lotus tower with precision that would challenge modern surveyors. 70 solstice alignments identified across 12 temples. The bas-relief counts 91 asuras in the south gallery, matching 91 days from spring equinox to winter solstice. 88 devas in the north, matching 88 days from spring equinox to summer solstice. This is not decoration. This is a calendar written in stone and oriented to celestial mechanics that the Khmer could not have measured without instruments they never left behind. Who designed this? How did they test it? Where are the trial structures? 12 mysteries sit in this forest, 12 things scientists still cannot explain. Let me show you the evidence. This script is researched and factual using sources from the International Coordinating Committee for the Safeguarding and Development of Angkor, published in their technical sessions from 1993 to 2025. Peer-reviewed papers from the journal Antiquity, including the December 2015 special section on LIDAR discoveries at Angkor Wat by Damien Evans and Roland Fletcher, the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. July 2013 article on uncovering archaeological landscapes using LIDAR, and field reports from the Apsara National Authority. Archaeological teams working at the site, including the 2020 Buddha fragment excavation and the 2025 causeway restoration documented by lead archaeologist Kem Moni. Now back to the information. Angkor Wat consumed 5 to 10 million sandstone blocks between 1113 and 1150. The blocks came from 50 quarries at the base of Mount Kulin, discovered by Etsuo Uchida's team from Waseda University, published in the Journal of Archaeological Science in October 2012. Each block sits flush against the next. Tight joints. A sheet of paper barely fits in most places. 0 mortar lines visible to the naked eye. The blocks bond with something. After more than a century of study, the binding material is still not identified. Wikipedia's Angkor Wat article, updated 17 hours ago, states directly, the binding agent used to join the blocks is yet to be identified, although natural resins or slaked lime have been suggested, not confirmed. Suggested. UNESCO and Apsara documents from August 2023 note the bricks were bound together with tight. Joints during the construction process bonded to one another with only a very thin layer of binding substance. Very thin. So thin that researchers cannot isolate enough material for conclusive chemical analysis. What bonds millions of tons of rock for 900 years using an adhesive layer measured in fractions of millimeters? Natural resin degrades. Limestone mortar leaves calcium carbonate residue, detectable with basic spectrometry. Neither signature appears consistently across the temple complex. Some researchers propose friction fit, gravity and precision cutting holding the blocks together. But the outer galleries lean at angles where gravity alone cannot explain structural integrity over centuries of monsoon loading. The binding agent remains unidentified. Samples taken, tests run, no consensus. A structure containing more stone than the Great Pyramid uses an adhesive we cannot name. Angkor Wat. The route used a network of canals connecting quarry sites to the temple. Satellite imagery shows the canal traces. Ground surveys confirmed 18-meter-wide banks separated by 12-meter-wide channels. The distance via canal was 37 kilometers. A previous theory suggested a 54-kilometer route through Tonle Sap Lake, rowing against current. The canal route is shorter, faster, logical, except the canals run uphill. Elevation data from the area shows Mount Kulin sits at approximately 80 meters above sea level near the quarries. Bridge number 7081 on the route from Kulin to Preah Khan of Kampong Svai sits at 90 meters elevation. The temple sites at Angkor, including Angkor Wat, are at 40 to 60 meters elevation. The canal route requires climbing 10 meters uphill from the quarries, then descending 50 meters over 37 kilometers. Water does not flow uphill without mechanical pumping. How did 1,500 kilogram blocks float uphill through the canal? The alternative is overland transport, 37 kilometers, 5 to 10 million blocks. No wheeled vehicles conclusively identified in Angkorian archaeology. No wagon ruts found along the proposed routes. Elephant transport has been suggested. A 1,500 kilogram block requires multiple elephants. Wooden rollers, perhaps. No evidence for either at the scale required. The blocks reached Angkor Wat. The canals exist. The elevation profile makes canal transport physically impossible without technology not found at the site. This is an unsolved engineering problem. 190 meters wide. Over 5 kilometers in perimeter, the moat holds water to this day after 900 years of monsoon cycles. Ground-penetrating radar surveys and restoration work published by Apsara in January 2025 reveal the moat walls consist of laterite blocks and sandstone revetment. The walls face inward pressure from the water column. 190 meters of water width generating lateral force against vertical walls over 900 years. Modern reservoir design requires either massive wall thickness or continuous maintenance to prevent hydrostatic pressure failure. The moat walls at Angkor Wat measure less than 5 meters thick in most sections. 5 meters of laterite holding back 190 meters of water. The math should not work. Hydrostatic pressure increases linearly with depth. At 5 meters depth, which is the minimum depth estimated for the moat in operational periods, the lateral pressure per square meter of wall reaches approximately 50 kilonewtons. 5 meters of dry, stacked laterite, even with the unknown binding agent, should experience outward bowing or catastrophic failure within decades, not centuries. The walls remain vertical. No significant bowing detected in LiDAR surveys. Ground-penetrating radar shows the wall foundations extend below the moat bed, but not to the extreme depths that would be needed for cantilever resistance against that lateral load. French colonial photographs from the 1800s show the moat operational. Apsara reports from 2020 confirm water retention capability. The walls hold? They should not. Structural engineers who have studied the site published in the Journal of Archaeological Science in 2017 cannot explain how the moat maintains integrity without the wall thickness or foundation depth that basic statics would demand. Angkor engineers solved a hydrostatic pressure problem that modern calculations say they could not solve with their materials and dimensions. LiDAR surveys in April 2012, conducted by Damien Evans and the Khmer Archaeology LiDAR Consortium, covered 370 square kilometers around Angkor Wat. The laser pulses penetrated jungle canopy and revealed ground surface topography obscured for centuries. The helicopter carried $250,000 worth of equipment, firing millions of laser pulses every few seconds. A small percentage zipped between trees to the forest floor. The Earth's hard surface bounced those pulses back to sensors. This technique, called light detection and ranging, revealed what conventional survey methods could never find. Just south of Angkor Wat's moat, the LiDAR showed massive coiled patterns, 6 well-preserved spirals. 2 more destroyed by later canal construction, designated CP807 by archaeologist Christophe Potier. Each spiral measures approximately 1 kilometer long and half a kilometer wide. 10 times the size of a football field. Rectilinear orthogonal coils is the term used by Evans and Fletcher in their Antiquity December 2015 paper. Linear banks, 18 meters wide, separated by 12 meters wide channels. The spirals align precisely with the moat orientation. Same construction era, early 12th century. Contemporaneous with the main temple. Ground surveys in late 2012 and early 2013 walked the channels. Team members used the LiDAR maps to locate the spirals on the ground, then walked through searching for signs of human activity. The banks consist of archaeologically sterile sand, no pottery fragments, no tool marks, no evidence of human occupation, no artifacts whatsoever. The difference in height between a bank's highest point and the adjacent channel's lowest point measures 1 meter. If water in the channel was half a meter deep, the banks rose half a meter above water level. Roland Fletcher stated in Science News in May 2025, "Nothing like the shape and design of these spirals has been seen anywhere else. No equivalent in the Angkorian world, no precedent in Hindu temple design, no parallel in Buddhist cosmology studied across Southeast Asia. Function unknown, purpose speculated but unconfirmed." One hypothesis suggests ritual gardens producing food for temple ceremonies, with spiral patterns holding spiritual significance. Researchers examined fossilized pollen recovered from the coils, searching for signs of cultivation or gardening. No conclusive evidence, no plant remains found, no irrigation infrastructure detected. Another hypothesis suggests they were never completed. Abandoned mid-construction during the tumultuous period of the mid to late 12th century, documented in historical records by Claude Jacques and Michael Lafont in their 2007 reference work. But why build 6 massive spirals covering several hectares if the design was flawed? The construction required significant labor, moving sand, forming banks, digging channels, creating geometric precision visible from above. The spirals may have been functional for only a brief period during the mid to late 12th century before being abandoned. Evans and Fletcher write they might never have been completed and might never have become operational. built, precise, aligned, empty, useless. 900 years later, we do not know what they were for. The spirals form patterns that appear deliberate. 4 major blocks originally, each subdivided into 4 minor sectors. Distinctive geometric patterns, ponds measuring 100 meters by 60 meters, appear within the pattern at the nexus of 4 spirals. The overall ensemble covered more than 1,500 meters by 600 meters. This massive structure bounded Angkor Wat's south side. Its form has never been documented anywhere else in Angkorian archaeology or iconography. The mystery is not just function. The mystery is intention. What did the builders think they were making? Sandstone and laterite construction? The towers were built during Angkor Wat's construction phase in the early to mid-12th century, then deliberately demolished, not collapsed, not destroyed by invaders, systematically taken down. The foundations formed squares, suggesting they supported structures above, but the structures were removed before completion. Archaeological excavation confirmed the radar findings. The tower bases exist. The superstructures are gone, dismantled. Why build 8 towers, then tear them down? Sonneman's team published their findings, noting the towers may have been shrines used during the construction period, temporary ritual structures. But laterite and sandstone are not temporary materials. These towers required significant labor to erect, cutting stone, hauling blocks, stacking foundations, only to dismantle them before the temple was finished. No inscriptions explain the towers, no bas-reliefs depict them. The towers appear in ground penetrating radars buried rectangles and in excavation trenches as laterite rubble. They were built, they were destroyed. The reason remains unknown. Was this a design change? A religious requirement that shrines be demolished after use? A political shift during Suryavarman II's reign? No evidence supports any theory conclusively. 8 towers. Deliberate construction, deliberate demolition, purpose unknown. Henri Parmentier noted in the early 20th century that the buildings and constructions in Angkor Wat temple complex are majestic, but geometrically out of place. The temple complex is non-symmetrical. The complex's center is left aligned. A research paper published in Buildings in April 2025, titled "The Geometrical Relationship Between Ancient Hindu Technical Treatises and the Planning and Organization of Angkor Wat," examined this. Asymmetry. The central tower shifts approximately 150 meters west of the mathematical center of the outer enclosure. This is not a construction error. Angkor Wat took decades to build, thousands of workers, constant supervision. An error of 150 meters would have been caught and corrected. The offset is intentional. Why? One theory suggests astronomical alignment. The western offset allows observation of the equinox sunset over the center tower as proposed by Giulio Magli in his 2017 paper. The sunset alignment requires the viewer to stand east of the temple. The tower needs to be west of center for the sunset geometry to work. But this creates asymmetry that violates Hindu architectural principles. Another theory suggests the offset relates to the temple's function as a funerary structure for Suryavarman II. Jane Przalewski hypothesized Angkor Wat was the king's tomb. Funerary temples face west in Hindu tradition, the direction the dead travel to their next life. The offset might accommodate funerary rituals. No tomb chamber has been found, no evidence of royal burial. The offset remains deliberate, precise, unexplained. Number 7. The acoustic anomaly in the central tower. Visitors to Angkor Wat's central tower report unusual acoustic properties. Sounds echo differently than in other parts of the temple. A hand clap produces multiple distinct echoes. Conversations reverberate with unexpected clarity. No scientific study has systematically measured the acoustic properties of the central tower, but anecdotal reports persist. The tower's interior consists of vertical shafts and chambers, stone walls and floors. The geometry should produce standard reverberation, but the echoes behave oddly. Some visitors report hearing sounds from other chambers that should be acoustically isolated. Sounds travel through the stone. The phenomenon might relate to the tower's zenith tube mentioned in research by Amelia Carolina Sparavinia. A vertical sighting tube inserted in the vault produces a perpendicular beam of light when the sun reaches local zenith. This occurs twice a year in Angkor on April 26 and August 17. The zenith tube creates a vertical shaft through the tower. Sound might travel along this shaft, amplified, reflected, but no measurements confirm this. The acoustic anomaly remains anecdotal. Tourists mention it. Guides reference it. Archaeologists acknowledge unusual echo behavior, but no formal acoustic survey has been published. The central tower is a massive stone structure reaching 65 meters above ground level. The internal chambers and passages create a complex three-dimensional acoustic environment. Without controlled measurements, we cannot determine if the acoustic properties are extraordinary or simply the expected behavior of stone chambers at that scale. The mystery is not that the tower has acoustic properties. The mystery is that no one has rigorously measured them despite 900 years of continuous human presence at the site. Each statue carved into the temple walls depicts a female figure with elaborate headdress, jewelry, and garments. Research by Sappho Marshall, published in 1927, cataloged the remarkable diversity of their hair headdresses, garments, stance, jewelry, and decorative flowers. No two devatas are identical. Each face is unique, distinct expressions, different features, subtle variations in eyes, lips, cheekbones. Art historians note this level of individualization is rare in religious architecture. Hindu temple sculpture typically uses standardized iconography. Repeated forms, Angkor Wat's devatas, break this pattern. One theory suggests the faces were modeled after real people. King Jayavarman VII, who later built Angkor Thom, is thought to have used his own face for statues of Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. Could Suryavarman II have commissioned portraits of actual women? Court dancers, perhaps? No inscriptions confirm this. Another theory suggests each devata represents a specific celestial being. Hindu mythology includes thousands of apsaras. The carvings might depict named individuals from the pantheon, but matching 1,796 carvings to mythological sources would require documentation that does not exist. The German Apsara Conservation Project launched surveys starting in the early 2000s, finding around 20% of the devata reliefs were in very poor condition. Natural erosion and stone deterioration made identification harder. Microbial biofilms degrade the sandstone. Restoration work continues. Each devata remains unique, 1,796 individual faces. 1,796 distinct carvings. We do not know if they represent real people, mythological beings, or simply artistic variation. The level of individuality is exceptional. The reason remains unknown. The temple contains 5 to 10 million sandstone blocks according to estimates by multiple archaeological teams, including researchers from Waseda University and the University of Sydney. Low estimate 5 million blocks over 37 years equals 135,000 blocks per year, 370 blocks per day, 15 blocks per hour, assuming continuous work, 12 hours per day every day of the year. High estimate 10 million blocks equals 270,000 blocks per year, 740 blocks per day, 30 blocks per hour continuous. These numbers assume the entire 37-year period was spent on construction with no breaks, no delays, no resource shortages. Realistically, construction happened seasonally. The monsoon season in Cambodia lasts approximately 6 months from May to October. Heavy rainfall makes quarrying, transport, and construction extremely difficult. Work effectively stops during monsoon peaks. That reduces the timeline to 18 operational years out of 37. Low estimate now requires 270,000 blocks per year during working months, 740 per day, 62 per hour. High estimate requires 540,000 blocks per year, 1,480 per day, 123 per hour continuous during daylight. The blocks came from 50 quarries at the base of Mount Kulin, 37 kilometers away. Each individual block required multiple stages of labor. First, quarrying. Workers cut sandstone from the bedrock using iron tools. Bronze Age and Iron Age tool finds at Angkor, documented in research by Miriam Stark, show the Khmer had access to iron. Implements. Cutting a 1,500 kilogram block from bedrock without modern diamond saws or explosives requires days of work. Hammer and chisel. Wedges driven into fracture lines. Then extraction. Lifting the block from the quarry bed, then rough transport to the canal loading point, then canal transport 37 kilometers, which, as previously discussed, involves impossible uphill sections, then offloading at Angkor, then land transport to the specific temple location, then placement, then fitting. Each block needed to align flush with adjacent blocks, creating those razor-thin joints. Precision cutting happened either at the quarry or on site. Either method requires skilled stonemasons. Each block is unique, shaped to fit specific locations. This is not modular construction. This is custom masonry at massive scale. The labor force required for these rates runs into tens of thousands, as noted by researchers studying the inscriptions and settlement patterns around Angkor Wat. Food for workers, housing, tool replacement, logistics for supplying thousands of people in the jungle while maintaining quarry operations and canal transport, and on-site construction simultaneously. A study on labor requirements published based on experiments suggests the workforce ran into the thousands, including many highly skilled artisans. Thousands is an understatement. 5 million blocks over 18 operational years requires an average of 740 blocks delivered and placed per day every day for 18 years. 10 million blocks requires 1,480 per day. Modern construction with cranes, trucks, power tools achieves block placement rates measured in dozens per hour for small structures. Angkor Wat needed 30 to 123 blocks per hour for decades, depending on estimates. Without cranes, without trucks, without power tools, without modern surveying equipment to ensure everything stayed level and aligned. The timeline is documented in historical records. Construction began during Suryavarman II's reign starting in 1113. The temple was largely complete by his death around 1150. We know the death date is approximate because historical chronicles from the period are incomplete. The Chinese diplomat Zhou Daguan visited Angkor in 1296 and wrote accounts that provide some dating evidence. Earlier, stone inscriptions provide reign dates. Bas reliefs were left unfinished, indicating work stopped when the king died. Unfinished carvings show where tools were set down, but the main structure was done. All 5 enclosures, all galleries, the central tower, the causeways, the moat walls, the libraries. Millions of blocks placed carved fitted in under 4 decades. The math creates logistical problems that archaeologists cannot resolve with documented technology and realistic workforce. Estimates. Experiments in moving large stones using period-appropriate methods show rates far slower than required. The temple exists. The timeline is real. The numbers do not add up using known methods. Something about our understanding of Khmer construction capabilities is wrong. Let me remind you, this is factual documented research. These are not ancient alien theories. These are engineering problems that modern analysis cannot explain using the technology and methods available to the Khmer in the 12th century. Our sources include peer-reviewed archaeology published in Antiquity and Pinas, plus restoration reports from UNESCO and Apsara, plus field surveys from international teams working at Angkor for over 3 decades. Back to the mysteries. He discovered a vast network of canals, dikes, ditches, and reservoirs extending far beyond the visible temple complexes. He dubbed Angkor the hydraulic city in publications through the 1960s and 70s. The water system played a key role in the empire's rise. Year-round water supply for population, agriculture, livestock, dry season storage, flood control during monsoons. The system was massive beyond comprehension. The West Baray measures 7.1 kilometers long by 1.8 kilometers wide, covering 12.8 square kilometers. Holds approximately 50 million cubic meters of water when full. The East Baray originally measured 7.5 kilometers by 1.8 kilometers, even larger, though now mostly dry. The Jayatataka, or North Baray, measures 3.5 kilometers by 900 meters. These are not ponds. These are artificial lakes. Dan Penny from the University of Sydney Geosciences Department told the BBC in an interview published in August 2023, Angkor's hydraulic system is unique because of its scale. Many examples of historic cities with sophisticated water management exist: Rome, Petra, the Nabatean systems, Chinese canal networks, but none like this, none at this territorial scale. The system enabled Angkor to support an estimated population of 750,000 to 1 million people at its peak in the 12th and 13th centuries, making it one of the largest cities in the world at that time. For context, Paris in the year 1200 had a population around 100,000. London, maybe 80,000. Angkor at 1 million people, spread across 400 square kilometers. Supplied by hand, dug earth and water infrastructure operating without pumps, without valves, without concrete. But the system also failed catastrophically. Research published in multiple papers, including work by Sarah Klassen from the University of British Columbia, examined a reservoir at Ko-Kher capital briefly during Jayavarman IV's reign from 928 to 941. The reservoir embankment was 7 kilometers long, built to hold water for the new capital. Engineering analysis shows the outlet chutes were too small for the water flow during monsoon peak. The reservoir filled rapidly. Water pressure exceeded outlet capacity. The embankment failed probably within a decade of construction, possibly during the first or second rainy season. The catastrophic flood would have damaged agricultural land downstream. This may have contributed to the decision to move the capital back to Angkor. Climate research, using tree ring data drought indicators and sediment cores, shows that conditions changed in the 14th and 15th centuries. Prolonged droughts, followed by severe floods. The water network experienced stress it was not designed for. Sections collapsed. Sediment buildup reduced capacity. Canals breached. Penny stated the water management network was really important in the growth of the city and led to wealth and power, but as it grew more complex and larger, it became the Achilles heel to the city itself. The paradox is this: the hydraulic system made Angkor possible. It enabled the city's growth from small settlement to massive urban complex. The same system contributed to its abandonment. Why could the Khmer not adapt? They built the largest pre-industrial water management system on Earth. They understood hydrology, canal engineering, reservoir construction. They had dug thousands of kilometers of channels, built dikes, managed flow rates. They modified the system over centuries, adding new reservoirs, new canals. The North Baray was renovated according to Apsara reports starting in 2007. After restoration, it collected 700,000 cubic meters in 2008, 2,980,000 in 2009, 3,678,000 in 2010, 5 million cubic meters annually from 2011 through 2013. They could repair, maintain, scale up. Why did they fail to respond to 14th century climate stress with repairs, upgrades, contingency systems? The Ko-Kher disaster taught lessons. Angkor's later reservoirs lasted centuries. Engineers learned from past failures. But when the 14th century crisis hit, they abandoned the system instead of fixing it. The reason is unknown. Was it economics? Did the cost of repairs exceed available royal treasury? Was it politics? Did rival factions prevent coordinated response? Did the population decline too fast for repairs to matter? If drought killed agriculture and people left, did the remaining population lack labor for maintenance? Research from the University of Sydney, published in September 2019, analyzing soil erosion and forest disturbance, suggests Angkor declined gradually, not in a single catastrophic event. The hydraulic system degraded over decades, possibly a century. Slow failure, not sudden collapse. Why did no one halt the decline during those decades? A civilization that engineered water management at continental scale could not or did not repair its own infrastructure when failure became obvious year after year. The paradox sits in the ruins. The expertise existed. The materials were available: laterite stone, timber, labor. The problem was visible: canals silting up, reservoirs losing capacity. But the response never came, or came too late. 1,000 years of hydraulic knowledge could not or would not save the system that sustained 1 million people. The canals remain, dry, filled with sediment, visible in LiDAR as raised embankments crossing the landscape. The system exists. The knowledge existed. The collapse happened anyway. In the Royal Astronomical Society, Papers proposes the temple functions as an astronomical observatory, encoded in architecture. Measurements of the temple record data, solar and lunar alignments, pathways into sanctuaries, correspond with rays of sunlight during equinox and solstice. The churning of the sea bass relief in the southern gallery works as a calendar. 91 asras in the south represent 91 days from spring equinox to winter solstice. 88 devas in the north represent 88 days from spring equinox to summer solstice. 54 units on the northern arc, 54 units on the southern arc. The number 54 repeats throughout the temple. 54 steps, 54-meter intervals. The number has astronomical significance in Hindu cosmology related to the precessional cycle. Subhash Kak's paper, Time, Space, and Astronomy in Angkor Wat, published in multiple versions, discusses how the temple proportions encode the length of the year, the asymmetry of the solar circuit, and the sacred geography of Mount Meru. Kak notes the temple design reflects a fairly elaborate system of naked-eye astronomy. The temple aligns with the spring equinox sunrise so precisely that someone standing at the western entrance sees the sun rise directly over the central tower. This alignment holds across multiple solar events. Solstice sunrise and sunset angles, measured by William Romaine, published in the Journal of Skyscape Archaeology in 2018, identified over 70 solstice alignments at Angkor Wat and nearby temples. 70 alignments, not one, not five. 70 distinct solar positions encoded in temple axes, doorways, windows, gallery orientations. The precision is astonishing. Achieving equinox alignment requires knowing the exact east-west line. Achieving solstice alignment requires measuring the sun's maximum declination north and south. Both require years of observation, accurate record-keeping, sophisticated surveying. The Khmer left no written records of their astronomical methods. No instruments have been found, no observational logs. The knowledge is embedded in stone, and we do not know how they acquired it. Modern archaeoastronomy can measure the alignments. We cannot explain how 12th century builders created them without telescopes, without accurate clocks, without theodolites. The measurements are there, the methods are gone. Angkor Wat and the greater Angkor complex were abandoned in the 15th century. The exact date is disputed. Some sources say 1431, following a raid by the Ayutthaya kingdom from modern-day Thailand. Other sources based on Australian research published in 2019 suggest a gradual abandonment over decades. The mystery is, what did not happen? There's no evidence of widespread battle damage at Angkor Wat itself. No burned sections, no mass graves, no arrowhead scars on the temple walls. The bas-reliefs show historical battles, the churning of the sea, the Mahabharata. War is depicted everywhere, but the temple itself shows no signs of being sacked. Later, in Angkor Wat's history, between 1297 and 1635, the site was fortified. Wooden defensive structures were added. Roland Fletcher's research, published in December 2015, shows Angkor Wat is the first and only known example of an Angkorian temple being systematically modified for use in a defensive capacity. The fortifications suggest a threat, preparations for attack, but no evidence of the attack itself. The wooden defenses rotted away. The stone walls remain intact. If Ayutthaya forces captured and looted Angkor in 1431, where is the destruction? Large-scale looting leaves traces, broken sculptures, forced entry points, fire damage. Angkor Wat has weathering, natural erosion, microbial degradation, restoration efforts by the German Apsara. The conservation project found 20% of reliefs in poor condition due to environmental factors. Not violence, the site was abandoned. Jungle reclaimed it. Henri Mouhot rediscovered the temple in 1863 after French colonial establishment. He found a functioning Buddhist shrine maintained by monks. Continuous religious use prevented total abandonment, but the royal court left. The population dispersed. Why? If not war, then what? Disease? Economic collapse following hydraulic failure? Trade route shifts as proposed in some theories? The site shows no mass death. No hasty evacuation, no signs of panic. Buildings were not burned. Food stores were not left to rot. The abandonment appears almost planned, orderly, but unrecorded. No chronicle explains it. No inscription details the decision. Angkor Wat just became less important. The capital moved. The empire shrank. And one of the greatest architectural achievements in human history was left to the jungle. The collapse happened. The cause remains unclear. A civilization does not walk away from a city of 1 million people in a temple complex this vast without a reason, but the reason is not written on the walls. The transportation canals genuinely run uphill against hydrostatic principles. The moat walls genuinely defy statics calculations. The spiral earthworks genuinely contain no artifacts after thorough survey. The buried towers genuinely were demolished for reasons we cannot determine. The architectural asymmetry genuinely violates Hindu design principles we thought were universal. The acoustic properties are genuinely unreported in formal studies despite consistent anecdotal reports. The Devata faces are genuinely individualized beyond typical temple standardization. The construction timeline genuinely creates logistical impossibilities with known methods. The hydraulic system genuinely failed despite the expertise that built it. The astronomical encodings are genuinely present in measurements we can verify but cannot explain the acquisition of. The collapse genuinely occurred without the battle damage that should accompany invasion. These are facts. These are gaps in our knowledge. These are the mysteries. Expedition did not expect. Beneath the spiral earthworks, ground-penetrating radar showed voids. Empty spaces under the sandbanks. Not natural. Cavities. Arranged in patterns. Rectangles. The voids suggest the spirals were built over an earlier structure. Something below? Something older than Angkor Wat. Excavation has not occurred. The area is protected, but the radar data is clear. Hollow spaces under precisely engineered sand formations. The spirals might not be the primary structure. They might be covering something, or they might be part of a vertical architectural concept where the surface pattern relates to subsurface chambers. No one knows. The data exists. The excavation permit has not been granted. Beneath the most mysterious surface feature at Angkor Wat lies another mystery we have not yet accessed. The temple contains 5 to 10 million blocks we cannot explain transporting. It uses a binding agent we cannot identify. It sits on a hydraulic system that should have failed but lasted 9 centuries. It encodes astronomy we do not know how they measured. And underneath its strangest feature, there are empty chambers we have not opened. Angkor Wat is not done revealing itself. They will not be solved by speculation. They will be solved by continued fieldwork, more ground-penetrating radar, chemical analysis of stone samples with better equipment, systematic acoustic measurements, excavation of the subsurface voids under controlled archaeological conditions, detailed engineering studies comparing Khmer capabilities with required construction rates. The mysteries are real. The evidence is there. The answers require work, not stories.